Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and if you are done with the drama, done with feeling unfulfilled, done with life being a chain of disappointment, and ready to have a life of zen, where drama fades away, things start to go your way, inspiration becomes exciting, abundance starts to show up effortlessly, and you finally see a path, a blueprint to follow, stay tuned. Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our masters of happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Hey, this is Susan Blanton again with another podcast with just you and me. So glad that you joined me, and today I really wanted to just dive a little bit deeper into what it takes to really get on a very certain path of having a happier life. And I know it kind of sounds tongue-in-cheek, or it just sounds kind of boring, but you don't realize what small steps it can take to make that transformation. Some people may take a long time, and there might be times where you just have that aha moment, and along the path you're trying this and you're trying that, and then all of a sudden it just hits you. And then it just all becomes clear and simple. And you're like, well, why didn't I get that before? But no matter where you are and where you're trying to start or what you're trying to do, everything is okay. You're here to experience life. And you can do that in any way you want. You came here as a part of Source to explore being a human being, and a special human being. Just consider how special we are compared to all of our mammal friends, and know that there is a lot more to know about us as a human being, and as a human being that has a soul dwelling within us. And the more we get to know who we are as a body and as a soul, the more you're able to really get a better grasp of this happiness thing. So I wanted to share with you some things that might be helpful just to be mindful of, and maybe take some personal time to dig into things. And it's not like you're going to have to take some time off to do this. Just take a few moments anytime this comes to mind as situations come up. So basically, if you remember, I don't know if anybody is a history buff, or maybe you took Latin or whatever, but Socrates is famous for saying, know thyself. This is the beginning of wisdom. And wisdom, when you really get down to wisdom, wisdom is a knowing. And we're talking about wisdom, your inner wisdom, not just book knowledge. Book knowledge isn't what I'm talking about. It's that inner wisdom, that internal Google, per se. That is what he's talking about. And so there's a lot of benefits, obviously, including happiness, of this knowing yourself. You can be happier when you really know yourself, and it can express yourself and the desires that you have so that you can get what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're going to be flailing all over the place. You don't know where to go, what path to take, what decisions to make, who to be with, who not to be with, what's good for you and what's not good for you. And it creates this inner conflict, because when you're outside behavior is not lined up with your inside feelings or values that you know within yourself, it's going to be miserable. If you are not being your authentic self, trust me, I've been there. And it's confusing because if you don't identify who you are on the inside, you might be acting what you've been told to act, not who you really are. So this is why I'm bringing this to you. I mean, you are not just a list of roles that you are. You're not a mom or dad or whatever your profession is. I mean, when people say, who are you? You start rattling off, oh, I'm a mother of 3, or I'm a father of 2, or I'm a civil engineer, or I'm a nurse. No, that's not who you are. That's what you do. So if you were put on an island with a bunch of strangers, who are you? Do you know? And, like I said, we can't make a lot of very good decisions if we don't know who we are. And no matter how big or small, you really need to know, like, what are your guidelines? What's your line in the sand? What are your boundaries so that you know what to make decisions within? It could be a purchase decision. It could be a value decision. So it's definitely, our decisions are based on who we really are. And if we don't know who we really are, we may not be making proper decisions for ourselves. Another thing that you'll have a better grasp on is self-control. And when you know and you understand yourself, what motivates you and how to resist some bad habits or develop good ones, to know which ones are good for you and which ones are not good for you. And you're not having to worry about willpower. It'll come naturally, and you'll be more operating from your authentic self rather than trying to be something that you're not, and embrace who you really are rather than trying to be something that been invented for you to be, whether someone asked you to be that or it was yourself. And being able to be patient with yourself and also to be patient with other people. I mean, I think most of us put too much stress on ourselves to be perfect or not make mistakes or have failures. That's all a part of life. I mean, we failed and made many mistakes when we were learning to walk, right? And learning to talk. How would it be if our parents put such high expectations on a child who's learning to walk, go from crawling to walking perfectly? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Or learning how to talk. We didn't learn how to talk overnight. We made mistakes. We made a lot of grammatical errors and mispronunciations, right? So when you're learning something new, just you got to start somewhere. And so don't beat yourself up. Just do like a baby does. Take that first step. Make that first sound. And the more you do it, the more you're going to learn what works for you. And you may learn differently than someone else, or you may learn something in addition to something that someone else didn't learn, or maybe you have a different point of view. And that's great. So don't compare yourself. Be patient. And be patient with others. You feel like like with a comparison, don't worry about what someone else's life is compared to yourself, whether they had more opportunity or they took opportunity when you didn't. Well, there's always today to start doing more or trying more things or taking those opportunities. And if you take all those are benefits. You're going to have more vitality and you're going to have more pleasing times if you are actually coming from a place of knowing yourself. There's something you can kind of remember, and this is the acronym SPIRIT, SPIRIT. And if we start with the letter S, let's consider that as self-esteem. And this is really emotional intelligence per se. Self-esteem is being able to identify your feelings, and you're okay to have every feeling there is for us humans. I mean, we can be depressed. Doesn't make us not a happy person, but depression is when you may have a difficulty getting out of it. But there's grief, and there's anger, and there's disappointment, there's frustration, there's dissatisfaction, and then it kind of goes up. I mean, there's levels of these feelings. Depression and feelings of helplessness or lack of hope are at the very bottom, and joy and euphoria is at the top. And it's like a ladder of feelings. Like anger is better than depression. When you're able to control the level of your feelings, you can start being more confident in being able to move to a higher feeling. So there's been times where I'm sitting there going, I just have a funk today, and what's wrong with me? I'm a happiness coach. I should be able to be happy all the time. Well, no, that's not true. I am capable of having the whole spectrum of feelings, but can I get a better feeling thought? And when you are able to have a better feeling thought, you can work yourself up to a higher level. Anything equal to or better than satisfied is a great place to be. And also, when you feel better, you feel like making other people feel better. Well, obviously, it's not anybody's responsibility to make you happy, nor is it your responsibility to make anybody else happy. But you feel like contributing to other people's well-being by emitting how good you feel. Not admitting, emitting is what I'm saying. Emitting your good feeling, spreading your cheer. And also you're able to feel comfortable with your own strengths and be able to utilize those for good. You might be known for being compassionate, and you're going to feel more like being compassionate when you are on the upper echelon of feelings. You don't feel that way when you're feeling depressed. But, just think about that. Be more mindful of where your feelings are. And that does help contribute to your self-esteem. And then you also not caring what other people think about you, which is very difficult. I come from that place of being a people pleaser. And when you realize that, like I said before, it's not your responsibility to make anybody happy, nor is anybody else responsible for making you happy. That means that it is your sole responsibility to make yourself happy and to have that emotional intelligence and be able to know it's my responsibility to choose how I'm going to feel about this situation and how I choose to feel about myself. And that's where self-esteem lives. The next thing is purpose. P for purpose. We can't go through life with no end game or something that drives us to get somewhere. And that purpose can be anything that you want it to be. You don't have to compare what your purpose is for someone else. Your purpose could be just enjoy life to its fullest. Your purpose could be to serve others. Your purpose could be build things for the better of humanity. It does not matter. You can change your purpose too, or you can have more than one purpose. Your purpose is yours and only yours. So, just define what is meaningful to you. What what is it that satisfies you? What makes you feel good that you have done yourself? Or it's the journey of creating that. I mean, it doesn't mean that your purpose has to end. It's a continuance of something that just makes you feel good. Maybe you just love being a grandparent, or maybe you love being a mother. And I know, you're always a mother forever. That doesn't ever stop. They may be out of the house, but you just want to be that person that just wants to serve people. And sometimes you're not just a mother to your own children, but you might be motherly to other people who really seek your comfort that you give them. Or maybe it's advice or wisdom that you love to share, or they come to you for. If that's what your purpose is, that's awesome. As long as that's what you feel like you have a purpose for. If you feel purposeless, then you need to seek what that purpose is. And you have a purpose. You just have to find it, discover it. Also, interests is the next I, the acronym, I, interest. At one point when I was defining myself as a mother and a wife, a stay-at-home mom, when people ask who I was and what did I like to do, even if we went out to dinner, I was kind of not sure what I wanted to order, because it was, well, whatever the cheapest is on the menu, or, it was really bad. I had forgotten all the things that I love to do. I had stopped playing music. I had stopped performing, was a painter, an artist, and I had stopped doing that. It was like everything that I naturally gravitated towards had been lost in my life. I was very much into being in nature, and I wasn't doing that. I had completely disengaged from my natural self as far as my interests. So have you done that? Have you gotten so busy that you stopped doing the things that you love to do? Maybe it's crafting. Maybe it's something you could just go back to your childhood. And what did you gravitate towards? Was it sports? Maybe you don't feel like you can do that, but what are some other things you might be able to do? Take up a new sport. Maybe you like to do something that's, maybe table tennis instead of real tennis. You can change whatever your interests are or gain new ones, but have an interest in something that you can chat about with friends about and that have similar interests. That's what's really, really exciting, is to talk to friends who have the same interests as you. And if you don't have any interest and know what they are, you're not passionate about something like that, you feel like you're not connected to others. And so that's something you definitely need to make sure that you cultivate and nurture, are your own interests. And another thing too is, do you know what your own rhythm is? And it's not the dancing or beat a drum or anything. It's, what are your biorhythms? And it could be when you sleep, when you eat. When is the best time of day that you're productive? I know for me, I really don't like to talk much. That kind of sounds funny being a podcaster, but I don't ever schedule a podcast recording in the morning. I am an afternoon person, and that's when I'm the most productive. So in the morning, I just kind of like to do things that are administrative in nature, check emails, social media kind of things. The afternoon is when I can just crank out everything that I need to crank out. And then the evening is a time where I just like to sit down and maybe read and take notes, or learn something new, read a book, or just sit down and enjoy myself. But I'm definitely not an early bird either. So, what are you? And nothing's wrong. And if you have to change your biorhythms to fit something, is that really in accordance with what works for you? Maybe you would need to change shifts, or maybe you need to change career, or maybe you need to change to a different job that allows you to function in the best scenario for your biorhythm so that you are more productive in the hours that is good for you, and you're not trying to swim against the current of the timetable that's just not working for you. You find yourself exhausted or burnt out or just feeling like a fish out of water. And if you feel like that, take inventory of what do you do on the weekends or when you're off? When do you naturally sleep into, and when do you go to bed, and when do you like to eat instead of the schedule that you've been forced to be put on? Do you want to live a life that you can get up without an alarm and eat when you're hungry and go to bed when your body says go to bed? It feels so much better. That's what I'm finally doing after many, many years of having to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready, to go to work, to travel to work, and then work and be productive in the hours that just doesn't fit me. When you're able to do that, I don't care if it's just at least one adjustment. Maybe it's when you eat. Just be mindful of these things. And then the second I is intuition. And a lot of us don't really care to pay attention to this part. And this is the one that's so, so crucial. And it's the ability for us all to have and strengthen. And when you have a really good connection to your intuition, that still small voice that tells you what's right, what's wrong for you, not necessarily socially, but what's good for you. And, maybe you should call this person, or maybe it's a solution to a problem that just happens to come to fruition in your brain that you couldn't figure out earlier. And when you finally just stopped thinking about it, there it was. Or maybe it's a great idea or an inspiration of creativity that normally just isn't available to you when you're trying so hard. Or maybe it's synchronicity that happens. Like, oh my gosh, I was thinking of my cousin I've never talked to, and then all of a sudden they just call you just right then and there. It kind of gets a little spooky at first. But what's great about intuition is if you allow yourself to tap into your own inner wisdom, and I know it's easier said than done, but once you figure it out, it makes life a little easier and less scary, because when you can depend on your own inner wisdom instead of the opinions of others or the advice of others, and you know what's right, what's good for you, what's the next path you should take when you come to a fork in the road and it just says you go left or it says go right, and you're not having to have analysis paralysis of what you're supposed to do next. That's when you don't have that inner wisdom, is when you are in analysis paralysis and you don't just go because your gut is guiding you. And trust me, it's a muscle that you have to continuously work on and have faith in and know what it feels like, so that it's not your brain telling you, but it's that gut feeling. It's that knowing. And when you know you've acted on something where it was a knowing and you followed it to the best of your ability and things worked out, it's the greatest feeling ever, because then you want to rinse, lather, and repeat. And if you continue to do that, that muscle gets stronger and life gets easier and fear starts to subside. And also the side benefit is you get a lot happier. So I would definitely pay attention to that inner wisdom when it tells you to do something. Maybe it's on the way to work. It says, hey, take this route instead of following your GPS. Or maybe it's just call this person that you haven't talked to in a long time. Or maybe you should wear a different outfit. It could be something, anything. Just kind of play with it. It's a lot of fun. I actually use it to find things that I can't find. I'll say, well, where is this? Where are my keys? And I'll say, well, it's in the pocket of your pants that you took off and put in the hamper. And there they are. And at first, I was trying to think logically, well, where would my keys be? And I would go all over the place looking for places that I may have left my keys. But if I start to just go, just tell me where the keys are, whatever I have lost at that time, I've started to find things. And it's in a place that I would have never left them before or would logically look for them. It is just like something just told me that's where you go find it. It's just like saying, hey, Siri, where are my keys? And they tell you where they are. It's great. The last letter of the acronym of SPIRIT is T. And temperament, and this is something I'm going to be going a lot more into training, because this is definitely something that we all have somewhat of a grasp of, but able to know ourselves a little bit better, as well as identifying others. And we live in society, so we need to communicate with each other. And we're coming from a place of knowing ourselves and also being able to know others. And so T is for temperament. And temperament basically describes kind of your inborn preferences, meaning maybe you're more of someone that just runs things, likes to be the boss, is known as a leader, just wants the bottom line. And, you might be more of an entrepreneur or a boss someday, or run a company, or maybe you just know how to run a tight ship, whatever you're doing. Maybe you're the mother, but you've got a household that really has a schedule and rules, and everybody is, following your lead. Or maybe you're just that cheerleader. You always get everybody up and going, and you're usually full of enthusiasm. Just think of kind of Tony Robbins, like a motivator, excited about everything. Or maybe you're someone that's just slow and steady to the race. Everybody can depend on you. You're always productive. You pretty much are the person that keeps the waves calm in the storm. If there's a catastrophe, they know that you've got the level head. Or maybe you're the one that is got every I dotted and every T crossed. And you can count the beans down to the penny. You like to make the rules. These are all different qualities that a society needs, all of these. So being one or the other is not wrong or right, or you might have a little bit of all of those within you, or you might be a little bit more dominant in one or the other. And, or you might be someone that really loves to be an extrovert, like socialize and be there for people, be of service, or you might be someone that's more of an introvert. And that's okay too. I've been both. So privately, I am an introvert. I would rather sometimes not talk to anybody and read a book and spend a whole weekend by myself. Other times, I really, really enjoy being with a lot of people. But I know when I'm in the mood for one, and I know when I'm in the mood for the other, and that's just knowing yourself. I was kind of an only child. I had a sister that was 11 years older than I am, and there weren't very many kids in the neighborhood where I lived. So I spent a lot of time by myself out in the yard. We had a huge yard, and I was climbing trees, and I had all sorts of animal friends to keep me occupied. Thankfully, my parents were very patient with me and allowing me to have horses and goats and hamsters and rabbits and dogs and cats. So that was me as an introvert, but I've learned to be more of an extrovert. But that's where I kind of settle in. Sometimes is just to be more of an introvert, but that's okay. And when you're okay with that, then you can sometimes dip into another personality and try that out for size when it's necessary and be comfortable with that. That is basically how to know yourself. These are things that help you to really tune in to who you are and build that self-confidence, build that intuition, not take the opinions and advice of others, but march to the beat of your own drum. And that just makes for such a happier life than looking externally for your happiness, when all of the happiness you ever need is right there within you, and you can take it wherever, on whatever excursion, mission, adventure that you want to be on, what people you want to be around. And that way, nobody's opinions or advice are going to take hold within yourself, because you know yourself and you have made it strong and full of wisdom, and you have your own self-esteem. You have that ability to create boundaries and say yes when you want to and say no when you want to, and not do things because someone else wants you to or need you to. You can make that choice. And even if you don't want to do something and you feel like it would benefit the other person, that's fine, as long as you're not doing it to minimize who you are. You don't want to claim victim because you gave in to someone else. So let's be true to yourself and make a list of all these things. Your strengths, your values, what you like to do. Get to know yourself, and that will be a huge leap towards mastering happiness. When you are on this road to happiness in this way, then the drama that befalls you is going to be minimized or not be apparent. It's almost as if it's invisible to you anymore. Or if it does come in, then it doesn't take hold. You can brush it off and you have another day, and the drama doesn't stick to you. And it's a wonderful feeling. And I have a training that's going to be coming up that is called FML to Zen. And Zen is mastering happiness. And FML is the F my life saying that a lot of people feel from time to time when life gives us lemons. Sometimes we just want to throw our hands up and say, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. F my life. FML. I really haven't said that much, but I sure have felt it a lot. Wanted to give up. Wanted to just I can't do this anymore. I don't have the strength. I'm so tired. This isn't fair. Oh my gosh, why is this always happening to me? Yes, I have felt like that so many different times, but anymore, not so much. And if something does come up, I'm able to handle it. It doesn't creep in to those nooks and crannies of our heart and stay and feel bad. I can brush it off like water on a duck. So if you would like to stop having those F my life feelings and moments, I want to give you that roadmap, that blueprint, that manual that can help you choose the life of your preference without the guilt and without the uncertainty, with more clarity and with more confidence. And so that you're not going through life going, F my life, or, oh my God, that happened just again, or this always happens to me. And live the life of Zen. Everything's always working out for me. And having that freedom and fulfillment and purpose and being proud of yourself and having less fear and anxiety. So if you're with me and you want to go from FML to Zen, then go to createhappynow.com or go to the link in the description below, whether it's YouTube or the podcast that you're listening to, or go to the Facebook group and or instant message me on Facebook and ask to be put on this list. And you will be notified of this free training that will be occurring sometime before the end of 2020 so that you can be prepared and have 2021 be the first year that you are creating your new life. Thank you so much. So glad you tuned in. Bye for now. Namaste. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Create Happy Now podcast. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on the additional topics that you would like to be featured on the Create Happy Now podcast. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to sign up to be notified of the upcoming free training. If you are done with drama and done with feeling unfulfilled, done with life being a chain of disappointment and ready to have a life of Zen, where drama fades away, things start to go your way, inspiration becomes exciting, abundance starts to show up effortlessly, and you finally see a path, a blueprint to follow, then make sure you go down to the description below, either on the podcast or the YouTube channel, depending on what you're on at this time, and check out the link there and go get on the list so that you'll be notified when this free training will be coming out. Remember, again, it's only going to be open for a 7-day window. You'll have that 7 days to listen to it before I will be taking it down. So be sure to get on that list today. Catch Create Happy Now on YouTube with podcast recordings and additional videos. Look out for Create Happy Now Facebook group, courses, books, and more. If you would like to stay on top of Create Happy Now creations, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel so you can start your journey to Create Happy Now. You can also find Create Happy Now on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, Deezer, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio.